Thanks for willing to do this.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I can just kind of get right into it then. I know it's always really exciting when the new book comes out with Fire Emblem Heroes and everybody gets to see who the new characters are, especially people that like the fandom have been waiting to be added to the franchise for a long time.
Yeah.
Have you been a fan for a while of the game?
Yeah, I would say a couple years. I started with Fire Emblem Three Houses, like a lot of people did. I grew up on a lot of JRPGs, but Fire Emblem just wasn't one that kind of crossed my desk growing up, or even in like my teens or anything. So, I started with Fire Emblem Three Houses, fell head over heels for the gameplay, the story, the characters, the writing, everything. And this was like right when the pandemic first started, so I just got laid off of my day job. So I put like 550 hours into Fire Emblem Three Houses and was like, I need more. And then I went and I called my local GameStop and like bought a DS copy of Awakening. So I had my DS on me, and then I bought a copy of Echoes, and then I started playing the other ones, but I didn't really get into a lot of the classic games. So those are still on my to-do list.
You have I'm sure there's multiple, but do you have single favorite characters then?
Oh, hands
Yes.
down, Hilda. Hilda's my favorite of all time. Just like I don't know, there's just something about her, like, I'm gonna play dumb because this is gonna work best for me, is just like one of my favorite tropes for, like characters who just don't want to do their own work. Like if I'm dumb and, lazy, other people will want to do it for me. And just I love small girls with big weapons because I'm also short, so I just think it's really funny.
Mhm. I know that I've seen in other interviews that you've always been really into Genshin too, like since the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. My husband actually is a day one player, and I was watching him play on PlayStation 4 when it first came out, and I was like, I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that it was a free game. And so I was kind of being a little stubborn, and I was like, no, I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to play this game. I was like, I'm going to wait till it comes on Switch because the Switch trailer was already out by then, I think. Either that or there were rumors. I can't remember. Obviously that didn't pan out, but I started playing on mobile in like October-ish of that year. And that was like right before I started acting. So, the MiHoYo games have been along with the ride my whole career too.
Mhm. Was that because I know that I've seen you have a kind of a more fun story of how you got the role of Topaz for anyone that isn't familiar with that.
Yeah, it was one of those. I sent the audition, and months passed, and a lot of actors, a lot of us get so many auditions that we just kind of, and in order for us to not get attached to anyone in particular, especially since we don't know what a lot of these games are half the time. They don't tell us the game, they don't tell us the character, for NDA reasons. So sometimes we can put two and two together if you're familiar with the franchise, but most of the time we have no idea what it is. We don't get character art or anything. So I saw it and I was like, oh, this sounds like, something I would like to be part of. I mean, also work is work, but this sounds fun. So I auditioned for it, and we have this thing that we call send and forget. We send it, we forget we sent it, so that if we don't book it, our hearts aren't broken. So a lot of people just, you can get stuck in I really liked this submission. I really hope I book it. And then, it's really easy to be disappointed. So a lot of us just kind of forget about it. So I forgot about it. And then many months passed. And I get an email one day from my agent asking for my availability for a project, with the same code name that I didn't realize at the time. The code name was the same as the one for Honkai Star Rail that I had read for earlier. And they didn't tell me who I booked. So they were just like, hey, can we get your availability? And I was like, oh, I mean, it's been so long since I read for this game. It's probably like, I don't know, background characters or something, like NPCs, like random like atmospheric voice that you run past, whatever. So gave him my availability, and this was before the game was released. And they sent back, a confirmation email, and it had like my time, the name, the Zoom link, and the name Topaz. And I was like, who's Topaz? I looked in my email and I like searched to see, if it would come up, if it were one of those where they did put the real character name, and she came up, and I was like, oh shit. Oh, it's this one. Oh, ooh, okay. And it was really funny because I related a lot to the character when I was auditioning for her. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog. He's having a moment. Um, so I was like, okay, this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Do you think in terms of the characters you played so far, do you still relate the most to her?
I would still say so, just because when I did book her, I was working as like upper mid-level manager in my early mid-20s, and a lot of people didn't really take me seriously because of my age. Also because I am short, and a lot of my coworkers were tall men. So when I'm telling people what to do or assigning and delegating tasks, and they just kind of look at me more like look at me like this, and I'm like looking at them like this, and I'm telling them what to do. There's just that kind of atmosphere of I need to do something in order for them to take me more seriously. So a lot of Topaz's, forwardness and brashness and like curtness I can relate to because, you need to be taken seriously in your workplace. And, you know, I feel like she probably finds herself in those situations where, she's a young female manager and she needs to do what she needs to do in order to get her job done. And, I was also a huge workaholic at the time. So I really resonated with me the whole I'm gonna do what I need to do to get my job done. And then I learned that she had pets, a lot of pets. And as you guys may have heard, I have a dog. I have two dogs. I love both of my dogs so very much. So the more I learned about her, the more I was talking to the casting director and who's also the director, and I was like, are you in my walls? Do you know me? Like I'm so confused. Like this casting is like so terrifyingly, I relate to it a little too much. She's a great character.
Mhm. Was it a more general kind of story with how you got Anby, or was that also kind of interesting?
That was just another one of those, auditions that come through my inbox. I actually, my friend who's actually the English voice of Soldier 11 had sent a referral to the studio for me, because they had just booked Soldier 11, not too long before, and they were still sending out casting calls. And it's funny because about a year earlier, I was on this commercial studios roster, and they were looking for non-binary talent. And Soldier 11's actor, Emery Chase, is non-binary. And so they sent me the email and I was like, hey, I'm not non-binary, but I can send you a referral for a talented actor who is. And they were like, yeah, yeah, sure thing, sure thing. So I sent Emery's name over. Later that summer, they booked a big commercial that ended up, covering a good chunk of the down payment for their house.
Oh, cool.
Um, and then a couple months later, I think it was the same year. I don't remember. Honestly, years are a concept. I don't have any concept of time. They sent a referral for me for this project. And I read for Anby. Anby was the only character they sent me directly. And I had my callback audition for her. And then the day I booked her, I was actually on the way to an anime convention to help my friend table as an artist for that weekend. And I have an airport that's right next to me, but there's one a little farther away that sometimes has cheaper flights. So I decided to go to the further one. It was 45 minutes away. My husband drove me that morning. And there's this like overpass that you go to from this main road to get to the airport, and there's a U-turn right before it. And I realized, like, wait, do I have my ID on me? Hold on. And I like ask him to pull over, and I like start digging through my purse. I'm digging through my backpack, and I like go in the back, I open my suitcase, and I'm like, I don't have my ID. And I'm the person who gets to the airport like a solid hour and a half early, so I'm really paranoid. And I didn't have TSA pre-check yet, or maybe I did. I don't remember. Either way. So I looked at him and I was like, I'm so sorry. So we had to make an hour and a half round trip home to grab my ID and go back to the airport. But right before then, I was so nervous I was going to miss my flight. I was really upset. I texted my friend and I was like, I'm so sorry. There's a chance I might miss my flight. Like I messed up. I left my ID at home. And we sat at the red light to make a U-turn. My husband was really agitated. Like I was really upset. And I was like, I'm about to cry. I'm so upset. The light turns green. We take the U-turn. I get an email notification. I look down and it was an offer for Anby. And I was like, I don't know how to feel right now. Like, I want to cry because I'm really upset I missed my flight, but also I think I'm gonna throw up. Like, this is so exciting. What is happening right now?
Yeah,
So, there was just a lot going on in that moment.
it is cool too that for a lot of the characters, it sounds like you get to use your natural voice more or less.
Yeah, yeah, I do love it. To some degree. I don't want to say I don't have a lot of range, but I feel most comfortable with acting, especially with characters that I resonate with. If I'm not trying too hard to, modulate my voice in order to fit the bill for the character. So, every actor kind of has their own way of doing things, and I really love using my speaking voice for characters.
Has there been a case so far where you've had to get to a pretty like emotionally dark headspace for any character?
I have recently for something that's still under development. Um, and I actually the director for Honkai Star Rail, Philip Bach, really encourages actors to look upon like personal experiences in order to, instead of, acting like you're in a dark space or acting like you're angry or acting like you're sad, pulling upon those lived experiences in order to bring yourself as an actor into the character space so that those emotions that you're feeling while you're recording are real. And of course, there comes a lot of responsibility with that in order to make sure that, once, the scene is done and the acting is over, that you yourself are going to be okay, because everyone has different lived experiences. And sometimes those are areas and memories we just don't really want to bring up. Unfortunately for a lot of us actors, we're like, "Oh no, a traumatic event. Awesome, I'm gonna put that in my back pocket for acting later. I might need that." So, I had one of those, and, it's taken a lot of practice to be able to kind of flip the switch, unfortunately, use the bad memory for a good thing to make art, and then, close the chest and put it back under the bed again for when I need to, let the monster out again later. So, I asked the director if we could save that scene for last so that I wouldn't, it wouldn't affect the rest of my session and the rest of the scenes that I was recording for that character. So, yeah, those are always hard physically, emotionally, it's exhausting, but like looking back at the final product, it's like, feeling that genuine emotion and knowing that when the character is feeling pain, that's, me turning a horrible thing or like a very real raw moment like into art and using it for more than just, damn, that sucked, and just looking back on it and just going, wow, that sucked. But, turning a bad thing into a good thing, like that's always, it's really powerful to be able to kind of like, turn the tables on yourself.
Right. Do you think you prefer working on more dramatic projects than over comedic?
I like them both for very different reasons. I've played, comic relief characters. I've played, dramatic, villainous characters. As we're learning now, I like them both for very different reasons.
Mhm. Are you also the kind of person that are you comfortable with like hearing yourself in games and things like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, we get over it pretty quickly. Especially those of us who started acting kind of during the pandemic area, where we, edit and self-direct all of our own auditions. You get used to your own voice pretty quickly in general. At first it's incredibly grating and you're like, God, do I really sound like that? But after a while, you just kind of tune it out and then you're just like, all right, I gotta do what I gotta do. But I also play a lot of video games and I play a lot of the ones I'm in, and it's kind of funny at first, but after a while, it just, the character becomes another character. And I've
Hmm.
gotten really used to, when I'm playing a game and I'm experiencing, scenes or whatever that a lot of my friends and colleagues are in, just separating the actor from the character comes really easy. And instead of being like, oh, it's my friend so and so, it's, this is the character. In the same way, it's, oh, that's me. This is the character.
Hmm. Have you also been playing Fire Emblem Heroes for a while?
I started playing actually not around the same time I played Awakening. So right after I put so much time into Fire Emblem Three Houses, I was like craving more Three Houses. It was that, you finish a game and you've got like that post-mortem like dread of I'm never going to see these characters again. And I was like, no, I don't accept that. And I think that summer that I started playing was the summer they introduced more Three Houses characters. So I picked up Heroes and I just like no lifed it. I played all the way through. I think it was around like book 5 or 4 when I first started playing. I caught all the way up. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really paying attention to the story. My brain just kind of turns off when I prefer English dub because I multitask a lot and I have a really bad attention span. So I'll read it, but when you're reading, your eyes will read, but your brain doesn't read. So you just kind of look over the words, but they mean nothing to you. That's just kind of me when I play a lot of games that don't have dialogue. So that included Heroes, unfortunately. So I was playing the game for the game itself, and to get the orbs to pull because as a gotcha player, that's gives you the good chemicals in your brain when you get to pull for a character. So I was just kind of doing everything I could to get more orbs. I just wanted more Three Houses characters. So yeah, I've been playing it for a while. I took a long hiatus. when I started playing other games, I just couldn't keep up with the dailies and everything. But you know, once I booked Baldr, I installed it again immediately and was like, all right, let's catch up.
Is it easy for you to relate to her, at least for what we know so far?
Actually, no. She's one of the tougher characters I have played just because, you know, I haven't really experienced a lot of what she's experienced. So I think this is going to be a very fun challenge for me as an actor, you know, based on what we know, what I know. I mean, the game itself isn't, the dialogue isn't voiced, so there's only so much I contribute to. But I will say, when I was working on her, it was a very fun challenge to be able to kind of pull like those acting chops out that I don't use very often. But Patrick Seitz was my director. He's fantastic. He was great. The clients I had in my session were awesome. It was just a whole lot of fun.
That's what I was gonna ask next. Is everybody always has like a fun story of what it's like to work with Patrick?
I'm not going to quote him directly, but some of the directions he was giving me was so incredibly specific. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe one, you just said that. And two, that is exactly what I needed to hear to get me to do what you needed me to do. And it's he's not saying anything, you know, like awful or obscene or anything. It's just the kind of direction that he gives is just so different than a lot of the directors that I've worked with. You know, and I'm just like, okay, wow, all right, you are it's like, I don't know, how do I put this? He's just so like real in his
Mhm.
directing and you're like, all right, awesome. And so when you step into the room and the atmosphere is already super casual, like you know, we've been colleagues forever. So as opposed to when I walk into a session with a new director for the first time, there's that air of like, hello, we have not worked together before. This is going to be a very formal environment. Also, the client is here, you know, but I walk in and it's just like, what's up? Hey, this is Fire Emblem Heroes, if you didn't know already. And I was like, ah, yes, I caught on. So it
Yeah.
was great.
Was there any basis off the Japanese in terms of voice development, or no?
Honestly, I don't remember. I've got a really bad memory. Actually, I'm not even gonna try and like bullshit you. I straight up don't remember whether or not we used her voice for any references. I want to lean on no, but honestly, I have no idea. I don't remember.
Well, it does sound like it's just kind of a more assertive version of your natural voice.
Yeah, yeah. She was definitely in the lower part of my natural voice register. So that was really fun to pull out the I want to say some of what she does is a lot of like my dog mom voice, like the no, put it down, like stop. The kind of tone that I would use with my dogs, really. Like, what's in your mouth? So that was fun to play with. I had to warm up a lot differently than usual that morning to make sure I could actually, you know, not sound like I was trying way too hard to hit that register.
Is there a default line that you have to get into her headspace?
I don't actually, because we just didn't really get a whole lot of material to get into it. And you know, when we work on these kinds of projects, we never know how long we're going to work on them for. So it really just depends on how much material we have. And as we know, with a lot of characters in this game, it's like, you know, like the selection lines, the battle efforts, the attack lines, the oh no, you hurt me lines, and the tap lines and whatever. So it really doesn't take a whole lot of sessions to get these done. So it's really just, you know, do what we need to do like when we get there, the director will point us in a direction. And if we start working on it and then we realize later that, you know, once we hit a certain line, like, wait a second, I like what we're doing here instead of what we did earlier. Can we go back and redo what we did earlier? And I don't know whether or not that happened. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I have horrible memory. But that's happened to me before in other sessions before for other games where we're like, wait a second, hold on, we're making a change here that I prefer. Because sometimes writers are also in our sessions and they're like,
Mhm.
okay, can we go back and redo everything we did up until now? Because this is the character. You just opened your mouth and this is her. Whereas before it was like, this could be her, this is her. So, I don't remember whether or not we had one of those moments. I do remember there was one point where the client really liked my audition take, and we were trying to, you know, sometimes they like what we did in the audition, sometimes they use the audition as like a, we like this actor for this character, or, you know, we can hear the character from this actor, let's work with them more to narrow it down. But there was one point where they were like, I just can't stop thinking about the audition for this line. Can we just use that? And we're like, hell yeah. awesome. Like, good to know that I got that close to the mark. That means a lot.
Yeah. What do you think when you saw her design for the first time?
Oh, I was so excited. She's so hot. I mean, frankly, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I never booked characters like this, so this is really exciting," you know? I get to play the bad guy and, like, she's mommy. I'm cool with that. Like, I mean, let's be real, we were all thinking the same thing. I also thought it was my first thought, first off, was, "Oh my god, another white-haired character." My husband's gonna laugh at me because he's always making fun of how many characters with white hair that I book. It's like an ongoing joke now. I think there are, like, 5 or 6 of them in the past 2 years.
Oh,
And then I was like, "Wait, is that like a color streak in her hair? No way. Oh my god, this is so funny." So, I just thought it was really funny. I can't remember whether or not they gave me concept art or the final art. It was so brief. You know, it's like, "Hey, this is her," just so you can have an idea of, like, the voice matching the character, which we don't always get, you know, we as actors, we don't always get the visuals. We just kind of, you know, if they have concept art, they have concept art. If they don't, then we just kinda go with it and, like, hope that it matches. But luckily they had it, which was awesome. So it really helped me be able to make more specific decisions for the character based on, you know, her stance, her appearance. We can make more inferences on, you know, where she's from, what she's used to, how she carries herself, etc. So it was really cool getting to see her.
I'm sure you've seen too that the fandom just has like a collectively great response to her as well.
Yeah, I was super excited. I'm really good friends with Alice Hamora, who voices Golvig,
Yeah.
and I remember her talking about how excited people were about Golvig when she came out, and they're making the like choose your legends jokes, and I'm just like when I'm seeing it about Baldr, I'm like, I I'm cool with that. Let's go. I would love to come back and record more Baldr.
Have you and Emmy interacted much?
Yeah, we've been friends for a really long time. You know, just because of like work and life and stuff, we haven't been talking as recently. But I was really excited to see her name booked as the other character. I was like, hell yeah, get it, Em, because I know she's a huge fan too. And I know Fire Emblem's been on her like checklist for a long time of games she wants to get into. So I was really excited for her.
Hmm. It is always cool with the OCs too that if you look at Norse mythology, then you can see kind of what ends up happening.
Yeah, it was really funny kinda just going through the subreddit. I'm a regular Reddit user, so I was, like, watching
Okay.
people's reactions, and they're like, "Well, it's a shame we know what happens," and I'm like, "That's really funny, actually," because I'm not familiar with Norse mythology, so, I mean, I can make inferences, I can make Google stuff or whatever. I'm not gonna lie because I have not been actually reading the story of Fire Emblem Heroes. I don't know whether or not do they actually follow, like, the Norse mythology with their storyline, or do they use
Yeah.
it loose? They do? Okay, well, I mean, we all know what happens then probably, but the writers could shake stuff up. I have no idea. I don't know anything about the plot that's coming up. They don't tell us anything. I show up, read the lines, and leave. So, I'm right there with you guys, either anticipating, you know, what the classic story is or seeing what they're going to do. So, I just when they told me about the mistletoe, just like with mythology, I was like, that's really funny considering the new book comes out in December, and you know, mistletoe is very seasonal.
Yeah. Are all of your units for heroes all three houses characters too, or
I think they are actually, except for Corin. I can't. I want to say I have Brave Corin. All my whole team is from like 2021, 2022. I honestly forgot who I had on there until I like logged back in and was like, "Oh shit," you know? But my team's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. I mean, I've forgotten so much of, you know, like how to build characters and how to use them properly. I'm not gonna lie, I totally abuse autoplay in the story mode just to get the orbs. But I remember when I was playing more frequently, I was very intent on building characters and in such a way that I would have to do as little work as possible. I know I have is it Brave Crom? I can't remember. He was really big when I first started playing. I don't know whether it was a repeat banner or if he had just come out, but he was absolutely busted and he has never left my team. So he's been on my team now for like 5 years.
yeah. Well, one thing I was going to ask too is if you like any characters significantly that are part of games that didn't have a Western release that are like in
Ooh.
Heroes.
You know, a lot of those games I just haven't gotten around to yet. At one point, I had started playing a fan translation of Genealogy of the Holy War, or was it Thrashia 776? I can't remember Which one did or did not have a Western release? Did they
Neither
both
of
have?
them do.
Neither of them do. Ooh, in that case, I don't remember. Which one is the one people say it's harder? It's been so long.
Genealogy, I think.
Okay, I remember playing it specifically because I was like, "Oh, the people say it's, like, really tough, like, let's do it, let's play it." 'Cause I love tactical games. I played all 4 houses all 4 routes in 3 houses on maddening mode,
Oh wow.
after I did story I can't remember which mode I did the first one, I just did it for story, and then I went back and played them all on maddening mode again because I love the challenge. So I started, the other game, and I think I maybe played it, like, 1 or 2 days, and I just forgot about it. So, I'm unfortunately not familiar with the games that don't have an English release. I will get around to it, I promise. I feel like a fake Fire Emblem fan, because I fell off the boat for so long. But I'll get around to it.
We try to engage.
I did, I forgot I did play Engage, yes. I loved the gameplay, the story was not my favorite, it just screamed Fates to me. I was playing it, and I was like, "This feels like a Fates reboot." Like, everything from I mean, I'm not gonna I'm gonna assume the people who are gonna be watching this are familiar enough with Fire Emblem. If you're not, then, like, stop listening for, like, a second. I was like, "Okay, like, dr mysterious barefoot girl ends up being your sibling. What do you mean we're a dragon? My parents died. My dad's the bad guy." I was like, "Hold on a second. This sounds really familiar." So we were
Yeah.
going through and I was like, "Oh, the characters are really charming, the writing isn't, like, like, my favorite, but, like, the gameplay itself, got me through the entire game." So it was really, really fun to play. I liked it.
Is there something that you want to say to the fandom then?
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much for your support. It's been a very warm welcome. Thank you for loving Baldr. Those of you who have reached out to me and, congratulated me personally, thank you so much. It means a lot. I saw someone do like fan art of like Baldr and Topaz's outfit, which was the funniest thing ever. I absolutely loved it. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing, what happens to Baldr, what happens in book 9. And, yeah, we'll see. I'm right there with you guys.
Well, my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh, that's a good question. This might be a little corny, but, when I started acting, I didn't have any acting experience. I've been an artist and musician my entire life. I started playing piano when I was extremely young. In college, I minored in percussion performance because I loved it so much. I wanted to study it, but I didn't want to be a music major. I was almost a music major, but I wasn't. And because of, how much time I put into instrumental performance, I just never had time for drama or theater or acting of any kind. Even in when I was in college, I did college marching band, and that absorbed my life. So when I started voice acting, it was because I really missed having a creative outlet. And it was during the pandemic. So all of the local ensembles, orchestras, like, small bands were, not taking anyone because no one was doing anything in person. So I started voice acting as a hobby with no experience. And I felt so silly and so like, like, ooh, I shouldn't be doing this. I probably look really dumb right now. But over time, I realized I really love doing this. And so I started taking it more seriously, and luckily for me, I was an adult when I started, so I was like, I have adult money to spend on, classes, lessons, whatever to keep getting better, and so, I took every opportunity to do that and to practice and to grow, and I realized I really, really like this, and if I work hard enough, we'll see what happens, and, here it is, a whole career in some of my favorite franchises, it's so crazy, and so, like, anything you want to do, you can do it. Literally, you can do anything you want to do, and I always kind of heard that and went, I mean, like, yeah, technically, you can do whatever you wanna do. I mean, you might not do it well. I mean, anyone can play piano, you just aren't gonna be a great piano player if you've never played before. You know what? But, like, screw it. Anything you want to do, go and do it. If you care about it and you love it, put love into your art. You never know what happens. Not everything needs to become a career, not everything needs to be monetized. I unfortunately did both of those things with my hobby. I don't regret it at all.
Hmm.
I'm really, really, really happy and so pleasantly surprised. If, you asked 5 years ago me what I would be doing 5 years later, I'd be saying I'd be using the my master's in business degree off working some corporate finance job, but instead, I said screw it to all that, and became an actor of all things. So you can do anything you set your mind to, quite literally. It is crazy what you can accomplish if you really set your mind to it and do whatever you want. So, if if anyone tells you that and you don't listen to them, whatever. But, give it a shot. Just, take it from me. Just do it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah. No, me too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hope you have a good rest of your day then.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.